What's your part in the Burgess story? When did you join Burgess?
2002, September 2002. Yeah, I joined the office when we had a beautiful shop front on Pall Mall. We've moved around the corner since then. And yeah, how old was I? I don't want to think about it. 32.
What did you join as?
30, sorry. The maths is terrible. I'm 52 now. So I joined as a junior sales broker. I effectively was Jonathan and Tim's bag carrier. And I performed that role for about a year, actually, and was then thrown in the deep end because I moved out to Fort Lauderdale, and we had an office here at Bahia Mar, and there were 3 of us there, and that was a real baptism of fire. And the Florida yacht brokerage world was well developed. The big boat market, this was the center of it, and I was new. I was still a newbie. I'd only been with the company a year, and I'd only been in the industry for a year, so it was a bit of a sink or swim moment.
They showed a lot of faith in you, Peter.
Yeah, I suppose so. But the company was a lot smaller then. There were probably less than 40, and really it was London and Monaco, and this was very much the emerging new market for Burgess. Obviously, it was a mature market for the super yacht industry, but for us, it was relatively new territory. So, and I was in my late 20s, just 30. I'd been in the military. I'd worked in the city, and I had a little bit of kind of history managing people, I suppose, and that having that kind of responsibility was a big part of it. So I moved over here, and we grew the office. Then we moved it to Miami, which was quite exciting. And subsequently, that office has now moved twice since then, and now we've got a brand new office in Miami, which is great. And then after 3 years, I was invited by Jonathan up to New York to meet a client of his, and went up to New York for 3 days to meet Jonathan, and met Donald Trump, which is quite exciting. That was the client that we went to meet.
You were there,
which he didn't tell me, so that was a pretty unforgettable experience. And we met Donald Trump. And then afterwards, Jonathan said, I really think we should open an office here in New York. So that afternoon, we went to look at an office on East 63rd Street between Madison and 5th. And a few months later, we took on that. And then Jonathan asked if I wanted to go and run the office in New York. So I moved from Florida up to New York.
Wow.
And that was in 2006, 2007, around then. And then I was in New York for 7 years. And then we built that office but it was me and one other lady, she had charter broker. And then we grew that to what it is today, which is, I don't know, Hannah, 10, 15 people. And we've moved twice subsequently since then. And New York's become a massive part of our US operation now, is a real hub for the business. And now we've added Beverly Hills as well.
So I'm minded to ask you then, how have you seen Burgess evolve over the last 20 odd years? And also, I guess, the super yacht market itself. What changes have you seen through that period?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when I started at Burgess, we were very much specialists at the large end of the market, but still a boutique, small company, discreet, under the radar. We enjoyed that reputation. We sold, a number of the very, very kind of large yachts and managed them, but we weren't shouting about it. And it was a nice place to be. There were, as I said, when I started, there were less than 40 of us. We all knew each other. We knew each other's families, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, kids. It was a tight-knit little family, even across the offices. But inevitably, you move on and you grow, and the business grows, the industry grows, and we went from 30 to 40 to 50, and every year, the number increased. And I think once we started, getting a large number of yachts under management, and also the charter management side, it's a very labor intensive part of the business. So the numbers just exponentially grew. and then we moved offices. So it's changed, but I think what's important is the DNA of the business hasn't really altered since then. That's to some degree a function of leadership and the people involved at the highest level. That's never really left the business, and that's really why I'm still here, because I like that team ethos. And it's quite rare in the yachting industry, certainly in the brokerage side of the industry. Most of our competitors are independent contractors working loosely under the umbrella of a corporate company, so they don't have that strong sense of belonging. Whereas I think I was brought into the business when that was a core part of the ethos, and I think it is still now, actually. And inevitably, when there's, I think, over 260 of us, it's harder and harder to keep that sense of, that boutique-y, small family sense. But I think it still underlies everything that we do, from the way we meet, in the morning before every day of a boat show, to the way we socialize, outside of the office, to the way we operate as business units. It still reflects those core values.
And what's your focus now, Peter, within the business?
Well, I'm a senior partner now, which is great. So I think what's changed for me is, in the formative years, I was selling boats. Clearly, was my core mission. I was running the office in Fort Lauderdale, latterly then Miami and New York. So I had responsibility outside of the strict day job. But now the business has evolved to the next level. I've got, with my kind of partnership head on, I've got a responsibility to the business at large and growing the business across different sectors, growing people and their own journeys and careers is very much part of my day-to-day. But yeah, a big part of my work now is evolved around new construction, and it's always been a very strong part of our business, the management and delivery of new boats. But now that's become slightly more formalized, and me and a few others are part of a new build sales team who focus specifically on big new construction projects, but still continuing to be involved in the brokerage part of the market as well.
Tell me a little bit more about the new build team, because as you said, this is a real area of specialism for Burgess, and it is obviously a very specialist area anyway. And I'd like to know a bit more about that, and also how the new build world has changed perhaps over the last 20 odd years.
So the Burgess, the new build team is
sorry, I can stop you. Is it new build team, or is it new construction?
New build sales.
New build sales.
Yeah.
All right, I'll reframe it. Tell me a little more about new build sales within Burgess.
Yeah. So the new build sales team is a team of different specialities, all put together in one team, which really reflects the requirements of a new construction project. You need technical skill, you need technical knowledge, but you also need commercial skill and you need commercial knowledge. As the boats get closer to delivery, you might need experience relating to the future management of the boat, operating costs, chartering of the boats, crewing of the boats. It really draws upon the full 360-degree service that Burgess provides in a way that probably no other part of the business does. So the key part for the new build sales team is, it's like putting your arms around a series of pieces of rope and pulling them all together. You've got to pull all those threads together, because you've got to take the client on a journey that may start with a blank piece of paper. And then from there, you've got to find a designer, you've got to find a shipyard, you've got to try and bottle the requirements of the client. How, what size of boat does he want? What special features might he want? Where does he want to operate the boat? In what temperatures, in what sea conditions? All of these parts need to be distilled, and then we need to find the right shipyard to build the boat. We need to find the right designer to design the boat, and then once all of those things are buttoned down. We've got to put the deal together with the shipyard, and then the hard work begins, which is the build itself. Now, whilst we're not building the yacht itself, we are the owner's eyes and ears. So we're there every step of the way, before construction starts, and then once construction starts, to ensure the boat's built, in accordance with the specification, in accordance with the designer's wishes, on time and on budget, which is the holy grail. Rarely achieved, but hopefully, in the same way that if you were building a new home or a factory, you wouldn't hand it over to the general contractor and hope 3 years later or 4 years later the product would be perfectly aligned with your expectations. It's a series of checks and balances, and that's what we provide. And then once the boat's delivered, that we have to start getting the boat ready for operations and safety and security and the crewing and insurance and charter, and all of those bits and pieces have to all come together and be ready to go once the boat's delivered, which is no mean feat. But again, it draws upon the skills of lots of different parts of the business. So my role in new build sales is to try and, as I said, just pull all those strands together and make sure that the client journey calls upon the right skills at the right time to make the process enjoyable, to make sure the client gets the result that he or she wants, and the product's right.
Sitting here now, obviously, one of the reasons we're all together is because it's the Burgess 50th year anniversary, which is as much about what's gone before as what's going to come in the future and what have you. How do you see the future of new build?
It's a good question. I think thankfully there'll always be groundbreaking clients who want to try new things, and hopefully that will never come to an end. And I think we live in a rare part of the atmosphere where some of our clients have the ability to push the boundaries in ways that others might not think possible or rational. So thank God for that. So I don't see that part of the market changing. I think we'll continually be surprised by how far our clients and shipyards are prepared to push the boundaries at the top end. I think what's changed, certainly in the last 10 to 15 years, is, and I'm going to use this term carefully, but at the smaller end of the new construction sphere, there's a lot more what I'd call semi-production building. So yachts that are built as part of a series of boats. So the engineering is done once, the design is done once, and then the boat is, the yachts are, built as part of a series. And whether you're at 30 meters, 40 meters, 50 meters, all the way up to even 70 or 80 meters now, that seems to be a trend that is here to stay. It de-risks the project for the shipyard. They know where they're at in terms of technical risk. They know where they're at in terms of pricing. But that has the benefit for the client as well. They know how the boat's going to perform. They know what their costs are going to look like up front. But custom yacht building is much more of a, is much more of a risky journey, candidly, for both shipyard and client, because you're building prototypes. And our job is to mitigate the risk for the client and, to a degree, for the shipyard. Financial risk and commercial risk, technical risk, to ensure that the boat performs in the way that it's been conceived. The boat comes in at the price that we planned it coming in on. The boat's delivered in the timescale that we planned for it to be delivered in. And those are, it's easy to talk about those conceptual ideas, but a very, very different thing to actually make them happen. So the skill set within the Burgess team, certainly on the technical level, as it relates to these custom projects, is candidly quite remarkable. And I think what's unique about our position in the market is, whilst a number of these shipyards are very qualified to build these incredible boats, they have their knowledge, but we have knowledge across all sorts of different shipyards with all sorts of different products. And we have this rather unique ability to cross-pollinate those ideas and take this knowledge and skills we've learned on one build and bring them across to another. And that's not just technical knowledge, but it might also be commercial knowledge. So I think if you can bottle all that, which I think we've spent a long time working out quite how to do that, and I think we've got a lot better at it, then yeah, it's a pretty unique offering. And anyone embarking on a new build journey and building a custom yacht needs a team with that sort of expertise and knowledge on their side. And that's not even mentioning the future requirements they might need from our operational managers, from our charter managers, and our crew team, and all of the bits and pieces that will be critical to the successful operation of the boat as well.
You've been with Burgess a long time, the New York office, new build, what have you. Some of your favourite moments over the last 20 odd years?
It's a really difficult question to answer, and I suppose the obvious one is to pin it to big boats that I've sold and moments where you can kind of define your career successes by, but actually it's not that. It's, and without sounding crass, it's the people. And I think we live in the most unique industry where we meet leaders of industry, people who have reached the very top of their game, and we have this absolutely unique opportunity or ability to meet with them in a part of their world that's their happy place. The last thing you'll ever probably buy is a yacht. You bought a business, you bought a house, you bought a plane. The last thing you buy is a yacht. So you get these moments with clients who, dare I say it, most people would never have one-on-ones with, or, these moments in time where you sit with them, whether it's over dinner or over a coffee or on the aft deck of their boat, and you get their insight into the world and how they built their businesses, or how they manage their family, or, what they think of the future, or what they think of a certain piece of technology, or, whatever it might be. And, if I could bottle all of those moments, those are my favorite moments in time. And if ever anyone asks me, I can probably quote a few moments where I've sat with a client, and actually the discussion might moves away from yachting, but it moves on to life itself. And we are in this unique place where you get very, you build relationships that last many, many years. And I was with a client this morning who I met in 2007 when I was living in New York, and I sold him a boat this year. It took me 17 years, and we laughed about it. And it's that ability to just build a relationship with a client where you become part of their decision making, part of their yachting world, and it's precious, it's powerful, and it's meaningful.
Do you want to reflect on what the 50th anniversary means to you?
The corporate answer is to say, I should be focused on the next 50 years and not look at the last 50, but actually it's okay to reflect. And almost half my life I've been at Burgess, which is a frightening thing to think about too hard, that I've done it by choice. Lots of options in life, and I do feel it's very much part of me, and it's pretty unique. And so I reflect very fondly on all the times we've had our ups and downs. The company's grown, which has been great, but it comes with increased stresses and strains, maybe a little bit more bureaucracy, a little bit more, focus on business matters rather than just the straight business of selling yachts and chartering yachts. And, that's that just brings different challenges. But it's been great, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Peter, thank you very much. It was excellent.